Hey everyone, today we are breaking down the very lengthy Hunt Showdown developer roadmap that was released this week, which was hosted by community manager Rick Taylor and Hunt general manager David Fifield. I highly recommend you watch that video because a lot of effort went into it and a summary won't capture every detail. After the roadmap summary, I'm going to dissect an important topic on the changes coming to Hunt, so there will be a timestamp for that as well. But be sure to tell me what you are most excited for down below, and let's begin. The video starts with a look back on 2022, as well as introducing David Fifield, who is a longtime fan of Hunt Showdown and who joined as general manager back in July. Then they separate the upcoming fixes into two groups: the tech Hunt is made with and that it runs on, and then the content and experiences being introduced into the game. So let's start with the tech side. David said the number one priority is fixing servers. And what that means is committing resources to not only creating a server infrastructure that is scalable to more locations and more players, but also investigating hosting issues that some users may be experiencing. The server issue plays a role in many problems prevalent in the community, including latency, the reload bug, and trading, especially the ones where the trade is very delayed. And we've already seen some progress here with update 112, where the reload bug has been ironed out. Of course, it's still being tested at the time of recording this video, but so far, so good. Next, they talked about update frequency and that they are aiming for quarterly updates, which add significant changes. That's not to say we only get 4 updates a year, but 4 major updates that change the game, and David said that roughly equates to seasonal updates like spring, summer, fall, and winter, so you may hear the updates referred to that way going forward. That means update 112 is our spring update, update 113 will be our summer update, and so on. And in between those major updates, we will have hot fixes and smaller patches and some content in between, depending on the event timings. Then they move on to talk about some topics with update 112, or the spring update. I did a video on the patch, which I will link to in the description, and I'll do a review of it sometime next week. But they mentioned solo play is back in a big way, and they are experimenting with wildcard contracts where players can elect the conditions that they queue into. Also, they are reviewing matchmaking, and it sounds like they are running tests and checking the data to see how to make it more fair. One key note on that topic though, the devs are analyzing all the data, but also player sentiment as well. So it's not just the hard numbers, but how the community is talking about the game in Discord and videos and on the subreddit, and both of those metrics are being used to make decisions. That means it's not just how a feature performs, but how it feels. And that's really important, especially when considering what engagement should look like. And then we get into the summer update. We got a tease for a reimagining of sorts for the bounties in Hunt. They will be referred to as targets and separated into 2 categories. Boss targets will remain the same, the usual 4 bosses you banish inside compounds around the map, but outside the compounds will be wild targets, which also drop bounties. That might mean roaming targets, that might mean more emergent gameplay options, but you are free to speculate. Gators, Wendigos, possessed trains, whatever. The questline in 112 is very Gator themed, so that might be something. On to the blood bond changes. That is still coming. The devs are removing blood bonds from respecking traits and health bars. They want blood bonds to be used as a cosmetic currency and remove the RNG aspect when spending blood bonds, which, kudos to them. You don't hear about a reduction in RNG monetization mechanics very often. I'm curious to see how that affects the black market, the cosmetic store where when you buy a skin, you get a random next one. It's kind of RNG, but also it's just cosmetic skins and they're discounted and it's a guaranteed purchase. So it's not quite a loot box, but I don't know. I'll leave it to the devs to address that whenever these changes start happening. All right, let's talk about the future events, but we're also still partly talking about the summer update. Hopefully that's not confusing. We got confirmation that another event trilogy will be happening with a lore backdrop of the American Hunter Association splitting apart, factions forming, and an international call for aid. It sounds very Revolutionary War or Civil War. Also, we will see more wildcard conditions like the Inferno, and of course the contracts that we see in Update 112, like the night time of day. David said specifically, this summer we will hear more about weather-based wildcards that add to the game well. We'll also see packs experimented with more. If you missed Devil's Moon, packs were basically experimental traits that offered unique abilities and bonuses to existing traits, and it really changed how the game played. We also got some info on new hunters coming to the game. The devs will be revisiting the First Nations theme that we saw in the Light the Shadow event, as well as expanding the roster of international hunters, and we will get more transparency on how they pick which hunters to add, as well as weighing those choices with new weapons and variants and charms that fit the character and identity of Hunt Showdown. Basically, more diversity and more international appeal that gives the devs plenty of options to play with. The next section is more about the fall and winter updates, so late 2023, maybe early 2024. In addition to the tutorial added in Update 112, the roadmap confirmed the devs want to add a shooting range where players can test loadouts that they already have or other weapons within the space, in addition to a PvP toggle for the two magical words gunfight. So, a practice area that doubles for 1v1 private gunfight-like options. Of course, that's if the tests work and the development goes as planned. This doesn't sound like a fully fledged mode that you can queue into, but a private area to face off with friends. Then we get into the reporting system to flag bad behavior and cheating. The devs do review the player reports both in-game and on the website, and those records go back years, apparently. We'll hear more about reporting later this year, but it sounds like the devs really do want you to report toxic behavior like abusive VoIP. I talked about the engine update in another video, but we got more details here. Hunt runs on CryEngine 5.6, and the devs are upgrading that to CryEngine 5.11, which is the newest and best version. The devs said this upgrade will allow for a next-gen version for Gen 9 consoles, the Xbox Series, and the PS5, as well as graphical enhancements for PC. Features like HDR, FSR 2.1, and direct storage for faster loading were mentioned specifically. It sounds like this will fall into the winter window or maybe beyond into 2024 sometime. And I will say that I feel like it was a mistake to not be more clear about this sooner, especially for console players. Saying that the next gen upgrade was in the works made it sound like it was coming sooner than what the reality is, but at least this roadmap corrects those expectations. And then we got into the next Hunt Showdown map. The devs are deep into working on a new map, but it won't arrive in 2023. However, the map will feature a new biome, so it's not going to be just largely reused assets. This will be a new look and something fresh. The new map/new biome is tracking for early 2024, where we might also see new proto modes, as David called them, like custom lobbies and maybe a proper PvP mode that isn't bounty hunt and stuff like that. Which brings us to the end of the roadmap. There's a lot of stuff in there, but I think in the short term, you'll see a focus on introducing the new wild targets, as well as events which may or may not use the pack system to change gameplay. We will also see more commitments to player onboarding to keep those player numbers growing and help players stick around. And none of that matters if the servers suck or the bugs are frequent, and these strike teams assigned to deal with those issues sounds like a step in the right direction. So a quick recap. The spring update gives us quality of life fixes and new quest lines and a new tutorial. The summer update introduces new wild targets, weather-based wildcards, and maybe the introduction of a new event trilogy, as well as changes to the way blood bonds are spent. The fall and winter update is distant, so it may change a bit from this vision, but it will focus on a new gun range, engine upgrades, new proto modes, and eventually a new map. Okay, let me speak from ignorance here for a second. This part is kind of long-winded, so sorry for that. But a reminder, I'm just some guy. I mentioned previously and kind of cryptically that it feels like a new era for Hunt Showdown and that the game is headed in a clear direction, and I want to explain why. What I meant by that is evident in this roadmap. For the first time in forever, we have a transparent look at what is being worked on. We know what has lined up and what hasn't. What are the real issues in the way? We know what is likely to happen soon and what is likely to happen distantly, but at least we have a timeline instead of a shoulder shrug. David Fifield says in the intro to the roadmap that he wanted to work on Hunt because he saw a game and a team that was doing something special and growing this new IP and making something unique. And I think fans of the game can identify with that. If you've been around or even if you're new, you likely see how great Hunt is and the potential of what it can be, despite its rough edges. And like us, the community, the devs genuinely are fans of the game. Everyone I've spoken to at Crytek really loves Hunt Showdown as a game, not just a product. But as has been well documented, the pure passion for the game didn't always mean a perfect execution. There is a plethora of talent on the dev team, but sometimes getting all the different departments to have a unified vision might not come easily. Haven't we all been in a trio where you know everyone is good at the game, but for some reason you just can't put the pieces together to have a cohesive strategy? Compare Trader's Moon to Devil's Moon and you'll know what I mean. The former was kind of messy and buggy and no one really knew why it was happening, and the latter was new and ambitious and cohesive and it had a clear vision. Was Devil's Moon perfect? No, but it was an improvement. With the anniversary event in this roadmap, we see a clear direction for the game, and I think that is partly explained by the fact that David Fifield became the general manager in July, which was a position that just didn't exist before. I'm not trying to pin all the success or failure on one person. It cannot be overstated how much talent and passion is on the whole team. Game design, marketing, quality assurance, all of it. There are a lot of people that really care about this game. The big difference now, though, is that there's this new role, general manager, who is over all of these departments. There is one guy, in this case, industry veteran David Fifield, who can get each of the departments working in the same direction. The good ideas get experimented with and approved or rejected. The marketing team works cohesively with the game design team because they both know where they're headed. Someone can say definitively what the monetization practices will be and won't be. DevOps has instruction on what to prioritize. Collaboration, teamwork, development, hell, even communication is hard. It is very hard work. And what the dev team has done thus far in the last 5 years is nothing short of amazing and impressive. And David Fifield was a fan of the game who saw that before he joined the team. But I think Crytek, the company, is making money moves by choosing a leader like David who has decades of experience in multiplayer shooters and online services like Call of Duty and Halo. Hunt Showdown is the game. Crytek is the development team to make it possible, and in my opinion, David Fifield is the guy to help all of those departments realize Hunt's potential. So that's what I mean. Hunt has a direction. I don't expect Crytek will always get every aspect right along the way, but I do have hope that the team will continue to work together, united in their goals and their passion for this game that we all love. Okay, that's it for my rambling. I hope you enjoyed the summary of what we can expect from Hunt Showdown, and maybe you have a little speculative insight into what might be going on behind the scenes. But until the next video, goodbye.